All right, here we go. Back in business. Salute to Knicks Nation, man. On this Monday afternoon, another edition of KnicksFanTV Live, presented by KnicksFanTV.com. Get your merch today at KnicksFanTV.com. CP the franchise here. On today's show, we're going to do a couple of odds and ends, man. We'll wrap up Summer League. We will talk Mike Brown. We will talk contract extensions. A little bit of everything with our guy, Matthew is back in the building, a.k.a. Fred Katz, man. Covers the Knicks and the NBA for The Athletic. So hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. Okay. Fred, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. We caught up briefly in Vegas for Summer League during the first weekend. What'd you think about Summer League, man? What was your main takeaway from your Summer League experience?
My main takeaway from my Summer League experience is that I am incredibly washed. I am so unbelievably washed up. I used to look so forward to going to Vegas at the end of the season.
Yeah.
The NBA season is grueling. It's exhausting. And then Vegas was kind of this bookend of like, okay, stuff is done. Free agency is getting done. You know, Vegas Summer League was like a week earlier, so there was still some stuff. You were working a little bit, but you were playing a lot, and you had a lot of fun to do Vegas activities. And now I get a drink with somebody. I get dinner. I get drinks after with somebody.
Yeah.
I go home like at a decent hour. I sleep for 8 hours and I wake up and my voice is gone and my head is spinning and I feel like I'm going to die. And I'm like, wait, didn't I just have like two
Wasn't it just a slow night?
Didn't I have two gin and tonics over a 7-hour period last night? What's happened to me?
Yeah.
Am I going to survive this entire trip? This is horrible. And then I go out and I'm like, I'll be fine. I can do the same thing again next night. And so I'm like, I'll just have one gin and tonic.
Yeah.
And I have a gin and tonic. I wake up the next day. I'm like, oh my God, how is this worse?
Room spinning, man.
I'm so old. I'm just so washed. I feel decrepit, and I feel like I have lost my ability to sustain Vegas life. And that's a real stage in life.
Yeah, it is, man. It took me a little while to accept it in my own stage, in my own life. And yeah, it does catch up with you, man. But you know, like anything else, you adjust and you figure out your pace, and then you just get back on the horse, man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, that was good stuff, man. As it relates to the Summer League team, just to put a bow on it, they didn't fare too well. They went about 1-4 on the campaign. They seemed to pick up steam as the Summer League had progressed. But who was the biggest standout to you as you watched those games?
It's hard to say. I don't know if there was one like really big standout. I mean, you had the Kevin McCullough 30-point burst. You had the 23-point half from Tyler Kolek. I thought that was obviously big time. I thought you had some interesting stuff from Huck Porty just as a rebounder and as like a paint presence. But then obviously he had the knee. Diawara had an injury as well, where obviously he was where it was unfortunate. So honestly, like, I don't really even know what my big Summer League takeaway would be from this team beyond the fact that, like, Tyler Kolek didn't really create his own shot. And so I thought that for the most part, that was not that I came out here expecting him to create his own shot, but I think if there was like, I think what you kind of take away from Summer League is if somebody has made this giant stride in an area that you didn't see the previous year. Oh, is Tyler Kolek creating his own shot for him? Oh, okay, that's good. Even if he's doing it against Summer League guys, that's a nice progression. Or is Pacome Diawara kind of scoring at will on people now that he's got a year of pros? Okay, that's fine. And I'm not saying the fact that didn't happen is some sort of huge problem, but I think the fact that didn't happen kind of makes me feel like there isn't any major takeaway to take away from like any of the Knicks' significant young guys. I mean, what would you say the answer is?
I'm with you in that. I liked the potential, and especially Diawara. Diawara took the Knicks Twitter sphere by storm. Right now, we're talking about the next Kawhi Leonard. That's how we like to dream and be caught up in these delusions of grandeur. I'm used to it, but I do like the potential there. I would like to see him maybe snag a two-way if he does not go back to France. I mean, with his wingspan, the athleticism, him. Yeah, sometimes he makes really good passes. Obviously, his dribbling stuff needs a little bit of work. But I thought Diawara had showed some promise there. Also, Dink Pate. He came on strong as the summer league progressed. Just guys of that caliber with that type of athleticism, I would love to see if the Knicks can strike lightning in a bottle. I'm with you with Kolek. You know, I saw Chris Brickley had put out a tweet there. He's like, oh, you know, you guys are overreacting to Kolek. He's out there playing with G Leaguers and things like that. I mean, you know, does that really matter? Because I'm like as you said, you kind of want to see signs that the guy is kind of progressing in certain aspects of his game, despite what the competition is. Doesn't mean you can't put shots up. Right? Doesn't mean that you can't look to create your own shot, which is, I think, an area of weakness for him. And also, like with the turnovers, I mean, a lot of those were on him as a passer. So, I don't know. It was a mixed bag from him. He did come on strong as the summer league progressed. But, yeah, overall, like I said, just mixed bag.
Yeah, I mean, I think also with him, like, he's a pick and roll point guard, and they weren't. It's not like they were like, all right, Tyler Kolek, run a bunch of pick and rolls and let's see how you do. You know, I don't think he was in the most comfortable situation for himself. On top of that, and there were moments, there were flashes. You know, that 23-point half against Brooklyn where he is really aggressive in looking for his own shot, and he's not always creating his own shot in that situation, but he is like receiving a kick out and going straight up for a three. He did have a couple of pull-ups that were like big time deep pull-ups.
Yeah,
he's more aggressive from like a mentality standpoint in being able to look for his shot, and that was a really nice bounce back after 2 games of struggles where he had 9 turnovers over those first 2 games. And you're right, like those were uncharacteristic turnovers, because if there's one thing Tyler Kolek is going to be really, really good at, it is not turning the ball over. Like he's not going to do that. So that didn't concern me, the fact that he had the turnovers, but it did make me think like Tyler Kolek's not playing like himself. Like something is unlike Tyler Kolek. And so it was good to see him after those 2 games where you're thinking, all right, Tyler Kolek's not really looking like himself in terms of just the way that he's moving. It is good to see him come out and be like, you know what, we're gonna be really aggressive looking for my own shot here. And I think that's a great thing to see from him, because I do think, I mean, the 2 greatest criticisms you can have of his rookie season are that he struggled defensively, and that you just want to see him look at the rim. Just look at the rim, man. Just look at it, you know? And that was a scenario where it was like, oh, you want me to look at the rim? I'll look at the rim. And he's a very competitive guy. And so I thought that was encouraging. I don't come away from his summer league discouraged. I just don't come away from it encouraged. I feel similarly about the couple games we saw from Dadier, where it's like, all right, they actively wanted to get him off the ball in summer league. They actively wanted to use him as a cutter, get him practice in those situations, because they feel like that's his role moving forward. Totally, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it also meant that he was like kind of uninvolved at times too. And when you shoot 2 for 8 from 3, it's like it's 8 threes, so it means nothing, and it's gonna dampen down the numbers than if you shot 4 for 8 from 3 over those 2 games. So like, I honestly don't have any consequential negative takeaways from any other summer league guys. I see the Diawara stuff that people are talking about. He's so raw though.
Yeah.
Like it is just so far off. There was a screenshot of a tweet that I saw, which I don't know, maybe I'm perpetuating fake news, and it was a fake screenshot because I don't believe that anything is real now, and I didn't bother to actually check Twitter.
It's all the Matrix.
But somebody called him raw, and on this screenshot, it was him replying to the tweet saying, "What's it mean to be raw?"
Yeah, that was real.
And
I saw that.
That was real.
Yeah, yeah.
That was real.
Yeah.
Which is truly the rawest. He's so raw, he doesn't even know raw. You know, he's still learning what raw is. That's how raw he is.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the ultimate raw moment.
Absolutely.
But I see it. Like, the intelligence seems to be there for sure. That's what's interesting. The guys who are really raw but really smart. Normally guys who are raw, it's because they're too young and they need to catch up to the speed of the game and all that kind of stuff. But the guys who are really raw and really smart are really interesting prospects to me. So I think that's because you're right. Like he made a few passes in transition, a few just like bullets to cutters, right under the rim, that were really impressive finds, really good plays. And you're right. His handle needs work. His shooting needs work. His general game, not in the open floor, needs work.
Yeah.
But he's interesting. He's definitely interesting.
Yeah, like when you mentioned Dadier, and I mentioned this on the post game, I was like, even though he was missing those jumpers, I kind of feel like when he's up, if he's up there with the main club and he's getting playing time situationally or whatever it is, playing with better players and just being that off-ball guy, whether it's as a cutter or knocking down some corner threes, I think we'll see him be better than what he showed in like a summer league. Now it was unfortunate that he had the toe injury and that it was a bit cut short because he certainly needs as much reps as he can. But I was still am encouraged by his potential. But overall, like when you look at the quote unquote contenders, if you will, even yes, some of them are boasting lottery talents and first round talents, they still have some homegrown talents that they can throw in there. Whereas with the Knicks, I'm just hoping that, one of these guys turns into something so that as an eventual second apron team, you're not just relying on the revolving door of vet minimums. We got to try to get this guy below his market value. Clarkson, okay, he got bought out. Okay, it was almost like they got lucky that he fell into their lap in that regard. So it's just tough, man, because it's like I just don't see that sure thing, especially at the backup point guard with Kolek there. I don't know if he's going to be the backup one.
Yeah, no, I think that there is definitely not a sure thing. Everybody is a question mark on that summer league team, and I think we're going to have to see. Look, they took Dadier knowing that he wasn't a sure thing. They took Dadier in part because he was willing to take 80% of the rookie scale. Part of taking Dadier, not all of taking Dadier, part of taking Dadier was just a financial thing. Part of taking Dadier was them knowing that he was raw and was going to take time. I don't think the expectation was that in year 2 he was going to be ready to play. I think the hope was that in a best case scenario, he has natural progression over his first couple of seasons, and then eventually he can be a dude who can guard a little bit and who can hit a 3 on the other end, and then you're good to go. With Kolek, I think there was the hopes of maybe a little bit more of an immediate imprint. And I say the hopes, not the expectation, because you look at how they operated. And last year, even going into the year, this is before they made the Cat trade, right? And this is before they traded Dante DiVincenzo. And it was like they signed Cameron Payne to a minimum deal. When they signed Cameron Payne last summer, it was under the expectation that he wouldn't even be in the rotation. Like they didn't expect Payne to even play. They had Brunson, they had McBride, they had DiVincenzo. They had guards. They were good to go. Payne was going to be insurance. He was going to be a minimum guy who was the 3rd string point guard and ready to go. And Kolek was going to be the 4th behind him. So like they have built, go by their actions, like they have built into their structure, like we don't expect Tyler Kolek to be contributing on a meaningful every night level. So we're going to plan as if he's not going to be. But if he gets the opportunity during the year, that's found money, and that's great. As much as Tyler Kolek was supposed to be an NBA-ready prospect, he's also a second-round pick. And sometimes that takes time, and sometimes for second-round picks, time isn't even enough. So, you kind of just have to – a lot of them are just wait-and-see guys.
Yeah, it's true. And so with that being said, they do have the one vet minimum spot remaining. It seems as though ball handling is a priority. CP3 is going to the Clippers, although I didn't really see him as a realistic option. They kicked the tires on Ben Simmons. I'd heard that it wasn't as likely, but he's still out there. Marcus Smart goes to the Lakers. They couldn't afford him anyway, and according to Steph, he wanted a more defined role. So what do you think as it relates to that vet minimum spot there? Where do you think they go?
Yeah, I wouldn't rule out the return of Landry Shamet. I think that's still on the table. I think they liked what they got out of him last year, and I think they also think that maybe having him, for like a year where he's healthy off the bat, as opposed to when he got hurt during the preseason last year, and then was technically not on the team, and then ends up coming in the middle of the year. I think that's a guy who they also think know that like they like in their locker room, gets along well with all the guys, good culture guy, good worker, all that kind of stuff. I would not rule out Landry Shamet. I don't think it'll be like a Malcolm Brogdon type or somebody like that. That's somebody else where like Brogdon can still play, and I think he's going to go somewhere where he can play. I think it'll be somebody in the realm of kind of the Landry Shamet level, where it's like you need this guy to play during the regular season. Or honestly, in the Shamet case, they were like, you need this guy to play during game 3 through 6 of the conference finals. Then go for it. But you need this guy to play during the regular season. He can be an innings eater. He can get hot. He can hit 4 threes. Also, if he doesn't play when your rotation's at full health, then no one, including him, is going to say anything about it. And I think that's kind of the role that they're looking for there. What you don't want to do, honestly, is, people talk about it from the player's perspective all the time of, Marcus Smart wanted to go to a place where there was a clearer avenue for playing time, which, if I were Marcus Smart, I would feel the exact same way. If I could play for a good team and get playing time, why would I rather play for a good team and not get playing time?
Right.
So also he ended up getting more money. Like
Yes.
Marcus Smart got 5.3, right. Right. 5.5 a year. He got 5.1 in year one, and I think 5.7 or whatever in year two. And so like Marcus Smart is getting real money as opposed to just getting the minimum. So he left for money too. But if I'm like Malcolm Brogdon, like I want to prove that I can still play, and I also just want to be able to play. On the team side, like you don't want a guy who's there being like, I'm better than the role that I'm in.
True.
It's one thing if you have a guy who's in your rotation who thinks they're better than the role they're in, because that energy can be channeled in a bunch of different ways. And some of them can be productive and some of them can be unproductive. And honestly, the most common way that it ends up going, people think like you have a guy like that and all of a sudden the guy's going to be a jerk. The most common way is that most people aren't jerks and most people want to be good teammates. But the most common way is the guy's just not happy. And it just that energy comes through.
Comes down. Yeah.
And they don't mean for it to come through. And they're not trying to be jerks. And they're not walking around telling everybody I'm better than you and I'm better than you and I'm better than you and everybody hates them for it. That's not the way it goes. But you can tell that a guy is miserable and it kind of drags people down and it affects how much that person is willing to work because they don't feel challenged or they don't feel inspired or they feel, like they're being suffocated or whatever else. And you don't want that energy in the locker room. If you're the Knicks, you want somebody who's going to be able to toe that line of like, will be able to help and is worth having on your team, but is not going to feel discouraged by being out of the rotation when everybody is healthy.
Yeah, that is an interesting perspective, and which makes a Landry pickup much more plausible for sure. As a guy who's been there, he kind of knows what to expect. And look, I liked how he played to finish the season. His energy was great. I thought his defense was good. He started knocking down his threes when they needed him to. I thought he brought a lot of fire that is fitting for a role player on the Knicks. I just wonder, what do you think? Let's say this is pretty much it. And let's say they get Landry. Second unit, are we looking at Clarkson at the point, Deuce, Hart if he goes double big, if Brown goes double big starters, Hart, Yabusele? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's right. Assuming they start double big and Hart moves to the bench. Yeah, I think that's right. And then you maybe stagger Towns so that he plays with the second unit and you kind of run everything through Towns and you've got a shot creator in Clarkson and spot up shooter and Deuce, cutter and Deuce, and Hart doing just Josh Hart stuff the entire way. And the beauty of Yabusele, the reason why I like that signing for them so much is that he can play without their bigs and he can play next to any of their bigs. So you can play him next to Mitchell Robinson and the fit's good because he hits his threes and he's a good pick and pop guy and he could just be a stretch four. And you could play him next to Cat, and you could be 5 out, and you're kind of good to go. and he can play the 5. He's not a rim protector. He's not gonna deter drivers or anything like that as a 5 defensively, but he can play the 5. Like he's fine as a 5 in certain spurts, and then you can mix and match depending on matchups and who you're facing and whatever else. But if you use Yabusele as a full-time 4 and he's just next to Cat in the bench units, I think that's fine, because honestly, like, if you play Yabusele and Cat together, whoever's playing the 4 and whoever's playing the 5 is just nominal. Like,
Yeah.
what are the big man positions in that sense anyway? You've got literally the best shooter on the team at, air quotes, the 5, and a dude who's capable of driving and wrecking people off the dribble and whatever else, and being one of the best scorers in the league from a million different spots. And you've got another guy who is certainly not a 3-point specialist, but is a good 3-point shooter, and is not just a 3-point shooter. Yabusele is like really good at attacking closeouts when he gets run off the line. He's a good driver. He's a good, strong finisher around the rim. He's a very strong finisher around the rim. He's athletic as hell. Like, I don't know who's the 4 and who's the 5 in that matchup. It's just like whoever you assign to what the 4 and the 5 do on certain plays. It's like, okay, you could have Yabusele be the 5 on some possessions and have Cat be the 5 on other possessions, and it's kind of fine. So I think that's probably what they end up doing, and they have a lineup that will probably be. I mean, that second unit has a chance to score like gangbusters. Like, if Jordan Clarkson has a good year for them, between Clarkson, Cat being an all-NBA center and one of the best scorers in the entire league, Yabusele being a really good complementary offensive piece, Deuce being in a role that I think is ideal for him, where you have a creator next to him, so he can do a little stuff off the dribble, but for the most part, he is just going to drain a 3 every time he touches the ball. And Josh Hart playing with 4 dudes who can shoot 3s and running around like a chicken with his head cut off and getting every single rebound. And you just tell Josh Hart, just be Josh Hart, and you will make this lineup a gazillion times better. That lineup's going to score. It's capable of playing really fast, especially after Hart defensive rebounds.
Yeah. They need that.
That second unit has a chance to be really good. And you can mix and match too. You could try three bench players, and you can bring in Mikal Bridges to the fray and see what you got there. Like, there are a million different ways that you can mix and match. You could end up playing Mitch with the second unit at times if you want. Like, there are a lot of ways that you can try to figure that out. You could change around stylistically to try to fill holes and fill gaps and stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Mikal Bridges and Mitchell Robinson in just a minute. That's a good segue there. Salute to everybody in the chat. CP the Franchise, Fred Katz in the building on this Monday. Shout out to Raymond Nobleza. He just joined the Franchise channel members. Raymond, we appreciate it. And Connor Long, Franchise channel member, and the number 1 member of the chat leaderboard. So he's chatting it up with the people in the chat right now. He sends a $5 super chat and says, Fred and CP, 2 legends. But then he says, go Nets. So we got a Nets fan that dropped a $5 super chat. Hey.
I'll tell you what. I just did Connor Long's podcast.
Oh,
he's the best.
There we go.
He's the best. He's awesome.
There we go. So there's more to the story. All right. Well, we appreciate it, man. Shout out to Connor Long. Hospi in the chat, he's a longtime member as well, is asking your thoughts on Amir Coffey and why he's still unsigned. Amir Coffey had a good year with the Clippers. Clippers getting older and older as we speak. No room for him on the roster, I don't think. What do you think?
I think Amir Coffey is a great suggestion.
Absolutely, man.
I think he's a great suggestion. I don't know why he's still unsigned, to be honest. I have not specifically asked about Amir Coffey, so I couldn't tell you the actual reason why he's still unsigned and what's going on there. But I thought he had a really good year for the Clippers last year. He is a knockdown shooter. He is a very quick decision maker. He has played in winning contexts. He is a good team defender. I think Amir Coffey would be somebody who'd be really helpful for them. And we can talk about, a little more creation or whatever else that they could use. One of the things that I've thought about is they could use somebody else who could shoot 3s off the dribble.
Yes.
Like, Jalen Brunson is the only guy on the team who shoots threes efficiently off the dribble. I mean, Jordan Clarkson shoots them off the dribble, but doesn't always.
He's
shoot
gonna
them
let him fly.
efficiently.
Right.
But he'll shoot them.
Yeah.
Last year it was Brunson and Cameron Payne. I know they had their ups and downs with Cameron Payne, but Payne shot 40% on pull-up threes last year, which is an excellent number. And during the regular season, there were a lot more good moments than bad moments in terms of just like his bursts. And there's a lot of no, yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it ended on a yes, you know?
Yeah.
And so I do think they could use something of that sort. I don't know where they're going to be able to get that with the market the way that it is right now, and with free agency being as slow as it is with most of the relevant guys signed. Coffee gives them extra shooting, though. He gives them extra shooting. That would be, I think that would be a really good addition if they could get that, because that with Coffee they get more size than they get with Shim,
which I think they
get
could
more
use.
Size, and I just think he's a better player.
Yeah.
So if they were able to get him, I think that would be a great signing. But honestly, it's a great question, and it's making me think that I've done a bad job, and I probably should have checked in on their Coffee.
All right, well, you got your homework to do after, and we'll hear it on the Cats and Shoot podcast on The Athletic. If you guys have questions for Fred, you want to talk, you call us up in the KFTV Discord. You guys know where to find us. And you're right, man, very, very slow free agency. I mean, you have a ton of restricted free agents unsigned, whether it's, Kuminga, you have Grimes has not gotten his bag yet, Josh Giddey still trying to figure out what's going on with him. So very interesting free agency when it comes to kind of that upper middle class, if you will, range of players. So we'll be interesting to see how they fare. But for the Knicks, man, they've got 2 extensions on the table, and they've got to make decisions on with Mikal Bridges and Mitch. What's your thoughts on where they may go in those with those 2 guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason for the delay, especially on Bridges, is that the front office was just very focused on the coaching search for a while. And so I think they kind of just were putting things to the side because they were just so preoccupied with the coaching search. And then once the coaching search ended, they were like, all right, we're going to pick things up soon. The Bridges extension stuff is very interesting to me because they can offer him a max extension. To be clear, it's not a max contract. It's the most they can offer him, an extension. 140% of last year's salary can be next year's starting salary. So they can offer him 4 years, $156 million. And the question is, in an environment where OG Anunoby got $50 million more guaranteed, Desmond Bane got way more, like, does Mikal Bridges want to take that contract? It's ironically the exact same contract as Jalen Brunson signed. On the other side, the Knicks will really be committing to this team. Like that is a real financial commitment, even if they believe that to be a team-friendly number for Mikal Bridges. Because what's going to happen is that is going to guarantee they're jumping into the second apron next year. Now, if you're also not going to let Bridges walk for nothing, so that salary slot is not going to turn into it's going to turn into something. It is important for the Knicks to maintain that salary slot. Like, let's forget about Bridges as the player.
Yeah.
And whatever you think of Bridges, who had a down season during his first year with the Knicks, I would say unexpectedly down season his first year with the Knicks, in spite of the fact that he had an incredible defensive run during the playoffs, an overall down season. I expect him to have a much better season in year 2. I think he will be more comfortable.
Me too.
I think the Tibbs fit was not great for him. I think that is probably clear. The Tibbs fit was great for some players and not great for others. And I think he was one of the guys where it just didn't quite work. I thought from a schematic standpoint, I didn't think he ever looked particularly comfortable last year. And from a personality standpoint, I don't think they hated each other. I don't think they were ever quite simpatico. They weren't quite the same page. You know what I mean? And so I think just that changeover and an extra year of comfort and all of that, I think will help Bridges a lot. And I would bet that he has a much better year this upcoming year than he did last year. That would be my prediction there. If you're the Knicks, though, forget about the player. What's so important if you're a team that's operating over the cap, and if you're a team that's operating over the first apron, like the Knicks are now and did last year, and that's likely to be a second apron team the following year and moving forward, you need to maintain salary slots in order to keep that flexibility, because your only way of acquiring other players is by already having players making a certain amount of money.
That's right.
And it is going to be incredibly important from a team building standpoint for the Knicks to maintain the salary slot. I'll tell you what, one of the reasons the Knicks made the Bridges deal, the number one reason the Knicks made the Bridges deal is because they wanted Mikal Bridges. The number two reason the Knicks made the Bridges deal is because they wanted Mikal Bridges. The number three reason they did it is because they wanted Mikal Bridges. But somewhere on the list was also, and this is not speculation, this is true, Bogdanovich was set to make, what was it, 20 mil, 19 point something, whatever it was. And he was on a non-guarantee. And the tell that they were trading for someone was guaranteeing Bogdanovich's contract.
That's right.
So they were not going to guarantee Bogdanovich's contract if they didn't know they could trade him for someone. But if they had a trade, they were going to guarantee the contract. The reason why was because, and this is on the list for why they traded for Bridges, they wanted to maintain the salary.
Yeah, that's right.
They wanted to maintain keeping that $20-ish million salary on the books, because that could help with future flexibility. Because once you lose the salary slot, if you're an over the cap team, and I don't need to get into the whole thing, but once you lose that salary slot, like you lose that. You're done. Like now that's one more guy who you can't trade $20 million to bring in more money.
Right.
And so in order to flip Bogdanovich for someone who was actually worth that money, who they deemed worth that money, in Bridges, they were able to, on top of getting Mikal Bridges, they were able to maintain the Bogdanovich salary slot, which was previously the Evan Fournier salary slot. It was why picking up Evan Fournier's team option was like under consideration when they had Evan Fournier. And I don't think they were going to do it for nothing, but they were going to do it if they could find something for Fournier. It was something that was legitimately discussed. It was like, should we just pick up the Fournier team option even though he doesn't play if we're unable to trade him? They had the same conversation the previous summer about Derrick Rose when he had a $15 million team option. They ended up declining it because, like they would have done if they hadn't found the Bridges trade with Bogdanovich, they were like, we can't house a $15 million salary for someone who doesn't play. We can't justify that, and it's going to drive us to being too expensive, and we can't do it. But they had the conversation, do we just pick up the $15 million team option for Derrick Rose? Like, that was under consideration. And maintaining that salary slot is very important. That is a way that they operate strategically as an organization. And that comes into play with extensions, because that helps you maintain the salary slot, just being able to lock up a guy for the long term. And we've seen the Knicks, we've seen how they value extensions, because whenever they don't agree to somebody with an extension, what happens?
Yeah, they're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Julius Randle,
Out of there.
Manuel Quickly,
Yeah.
Obi Toppin, they just knew they weren't going to extend, so they traded him. Like if they thought they were going to extend him, that trade wouldn't have happened the way that it did.
You're right.
And it wouldn't happen in the timing that it did. That's their philosophy. And so they want to maintain that salary slot. So I think the Knicks will do all they can to try to extend Mikal Bridges, and then we'll see exactly how Bridges feels about it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Number one, especially with the salary slot, but number two, I get people like, oh, you can't go with the sunk cost fallacy. I think they need him. You know, unless they can upgrade. I don't know what the Giannis situation is going to be looking like a year from now, but until then, you need him, and you need to hope that Mike Brown can be the anti-Tibbs, where you're getting a little bit more out of Mikal Bridges. Is it adjusting his defensive role? How is his offensive role going to look? How are the lineups going to be staggered to get the most out of him? I still think there's something there. You know, more there. I'm not saying he's a nothing player. I think he's a good player. I like Mikal Bridges. I wanted them to draft Mikal Bridges in the 2017 draft. They went with Kevin Knox. It was a terrible idea. So I just think there's still more there, which to me is going to be a worthwhile investment if, and hopefully, he gives him a little bit of a deal. He's got to talk to Cap, and he's got to come back to the pack a little bit and take a little bit of a sacrifice. Now, the Mitch thing is very interesting because, you know it. He's injury prone. Do you invest in him? You lose him. I think this team takes a tremendous hit defensively, man. I don't see how they compete and be a respectable defensive team without the block nest monster there.
So the Mitch thing, you're right, is so interesting. I agree with us starting on Bridges and his extension stuff because that's the most important.
Yeah.
And it's also the most likely to get done, I would say. The Mitch extension eligibility, just from like a thought exercise, is the most interesting. If you're like a real freak like us, you're just a real nerd. The Mitch one is so interesting because that's the one that has the greatest chance of, if you do it, becoming a disaster.
Yes.
Also, it's the one that has the greatest chance of, if you don't do it, it becoming a disaster.
Right.
And that is why it is so interesting. It also, the opposite is true. It's also the one that has the chance of, if you do it, you are the happiest that you could possibly be, and it was the best case situation. And it's also the scenario of, if you don't do it, it could become the best case situation, and you could be the happiest you could be. Just because of Mitch's injury history. I think you're right. He's when he is healthy, he is so important. They don't make the conference finals if they don't have Mitchell Robinson.
Facts.
Like, ends, like, full stop. They do not make the conference finals if they don't have Mitchell Robinson absolutely balling out the way that he did that entire playoff run. And doing it against completely different styled teams, doing it against the rugged and young and raw Detroit Pistons, and then doing it against the finesse and veteran and experienced and champion Celtics with, all NBA players aplenty and whatever else, dominating both of those series.
Yeah.
The Knicks need him as somebody who can protect the rim next to Cat, whether he starts or not. They need that as an option. And here's the thing with Mitch. He's an expiring contract, $12.9 million. If you don't keep Mitch, you have no way to replace him with someone who's as good at what he does. You just don't have that. And if you are of the philosophy that in order to maximize Towns, you want to play him next to a legitimately awesome defensive center. And Mitch is, if you thought Mitchell Robinson was merely a good defensive center, which would have been an okay opinion to have leading into the playoffs because we didn't know if he was going to get back to what he was. But if you thought he was just good and not awesome defensively, then I don't think anybody saw him in the playoffs and didn't change their mind. I was skeptical because we just hadn't seen it in literally years. And then it got to the playoffs and I was like, he's literally better than he's ever been. He was playing, if he maintained his level of play for 65 plus regular season games, he'd be on all defense team.
Sure.
Might be on defensive player of the year ballot.
Sure.
He was that good. So you need a guy that level next to Towns and that style next to Towns. And if you lose Mitch, you're not going to be able to replace that. At the same time, because of the health history, if you give Mitch guaranteed years and he gets hurt and suffers a serious injury, which would suck for him, now you've got this legitimately sized, basically just head of dead money on your books. And that could be hampering, especially if you're going to be a second apron team next year. Now, what you could do is you could say, you know what? We just got to see how this year goes. Just got to see how this year goes. If you're good and you're healthy, then and your body is holding up well, then we'll pay you next summer, Mitch. Like, you're too important, we'll bring you back. But we can't commit to the money now. I wonder if the Knicks end up saying to Mitch, like, I wonder what Mitch says if the Knicks say, hey, Mitch, here's an extension. It's for a really low number. Like, he makes 12.9. He's eligible to make 18.1 in year one, which would, come out to what's the number that it would be on over 4 years? Like 4 for 72?
Yep. Yeah, 472. It's quick math. It was good job by you, man. It's good
There
job.
we go.
Good job.
So it would come out to that. Actually, it might be 4 for 76 with raises. I might be making that up. Actually, it might be 4 for 80 with raises. I might be making that up. Might be terrible math. Who knows? It's something in that range.
Yeah.
It's something in that range.
Yeah.
It actually might be 4 for like 80.25 or something like that. I think that's it. But anyway, starts at 18.1. I can tell you that much. So starts at 18.1. If the Knicks just came in and said, here's 3 years on an extension and 40 million total, team option on the last year. I wonder how Mitch responds to that, because as a player, that's a vast underpay. And I think Mitch could be justified in looking at that, being like, $13 million a year. I make $13 million this year.
Right.
And that was the 4th year of a declining contract. And I'm better today than I was when I signed this contract. This contract paid me on average $15 million a year, and I'm better today. And the cap is way higher than it was when I signed it. So how in the world would I accept this? Because this is way worse than the player I am. Like Daniel Gafford.
Yeah, it's Gafford.
3 for 54.
Right.
And you could be like, I'm better than Daniel Gafford, and I'm also more important, and you can't replace me.
Right.
From that perspective. At the same time, he also could be, if he thought of it that way, I wouldn't think that was cocky. I would be like, I understand. Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with a word of it. He also could look at it and be like, damn, well, that's more money than I ever thought I was going to make in my entire life. And he's self-aware about his injuries.
Yeah.
You know, he might be like, if I suffer another injury, I may never get that contract.
Not getting it.
And he loves playing.
No more trucks. No more big rigs. You know,
and he loves playing for the Knicks. So it's not exactly like I think Mitch is like, you know, looking elsewhere or anything like that. Like he loves playing for the Knicks. So
yeah,
I mean that's just that part is me projecting because I know him and making an educated guess. But like I can tell you for sure he loves playing for the Knicks. I would be very surprised if his preference was to go somewhere else.
Right.
Like he loves playing for this organization.
Unless he goes to Memphis, but they don't really need him. They got Triple J. But you know he's out there. He's out there in Nashville.
And they got Edie.
They got Edie. Yeah. So they don't.
They
really
got Brandon Clark.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
I think Mitch loves it in New York. I don't think his preference, you know, all things aside, will be to leave ever. But you know,
yeah,
it's a business, and the business sometimes takes over. But if Mitch says like, "Damn, I could get hurt, require another season-ending surgery tomorrow with my luck, and I could never see this money, and like if I turn this down, it is a legitimate risk," and Mitch might believe all those things that I just said about him earlier because they're true. And he's a very confident guy, so I'm sure he does believe that. And he might still say, screw it, I'll take the security. Like $40 million might not be what it used to be in the NBA, but it is what it used to be in the world. Still a lot of money in the world. So I'll take the 40 mil. And I wonder, it's a really interesting thought exercise into team building. It's a really interesting thought exercise into team building within the second apron. And it's also kind of an interesting thought exercise into the psychology of an NBA player.
Very much so.
And how they value themselves versus how they want to take risks on things that are out of their control. Like how good of a player Mitchell Robinson is. A lot of that I'm sure he believes to be in his control. Injuries are out of his control, you know, like he could have a fluke injury and he's prone to those and he might be traumatized by them and be like, screw this, give me the security. So, and the Knicks may also say, we don't want to do that because we can't commit this long-term money. What do you think of it? Where do you stand on it?
I got to keep him. You know, I'm a blockness guy, man. You know, playoffs, I was like, start Mitch. He needs to be here.
He's an awesome player.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, we're on the same page as him as a player.
Yeah. I don't see the replacement cost. Yeah, you know, guys are gonna be like, oh, Huck Porty. For me, Huck Porty, you bring Mitch in, You sit him on the second night of back-to-backs. That's Huck Porty time. Maybe you sprinkle in a couple Huck Porty minutes each game to kind of keep Mitch between like a 27, maybe 30, and you try to figure out the rest between Towns and Huck Porty. But I don't think that there's no chance, in my opinion, that they can even come close to competing for a championship without him on defense, anchoring the defense.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I would not get rid of him. I think the question is either do you extend him and let it play out until and do you extend him and potentially get the rest on the long-term deal that's going to hurt you?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Or
I would
do you let it play out?
I'd let it play out. I'd let it play out.
Yeah, and then you let it play out, and if he has an awesome year, then you say screw it, we'll pay you. But that could end up hurting you even more down the line.
It's true.
Because if you're going to extend him, you're going to get him on a team-friendlier contract. And if Mitch does come out and he plays 60 games, yeah, let's just say he plays 60 games. He's not even eligible for awards. But he plays, let's just say he plays 60 games, and he plays at the level that he did during the playoffs for the entire season. And let's say even they monitor his minutes because they want to keep him healthy, and he plays 22 minutes a game, but he's amazing in the 22 minutes. And then you get to the playoffs, and he is one of the driving forces for why you got to the finals, because he just does the same thing, quite honestly, that he always does in the playoffs. He's always awesome in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He just does the thing that he always does in the playoffs. He dominates 4 series in the playoffs, and you're like, oh, holy smokes. I guess we got to pay Mitchell Robinson because he's an unrestricted free agent, and a lot of teams have cap space in 2026. And teams think he can be healthy now, and there might be a market for him. And then you got to pay him. I don't think you're going to have to pay him $25 million a year. I mean,
Turner money.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a world where you're going to have to pay him that, because there's no amount of healthy that he could be this year that could make people want to give him that money long term. Like, they're still going to be like, okay, well, he was healthy 1 year. I don't think it'll be that, but it might be more than you would have had. You could have gotten him in an extension for. And so it might cost you more down the line. And then all of a sudden the injury risk is still there. I do think the number one play that you need with Mitch this year is like every single move that you make with Mitch this year. And then Knicks obviously have a very well-respected medical team, and I'm sure they're going to think this way and do what's best for him in that sense. Mm-hmm. But I would just not even care at all about the regular season.
Right.
I wouldn't care the least.
Yeah.
I would treat him the way that the Clippers treat Kawhi. Mm-hmm. I would just be like, Mitch, I couldn't care less about the regular season. I don't care. I don't care if you never play. I don't care. The only goal is to make sure. And by the way, we don't run you rusty on April 15th either. But like April 20th or whenever the playoffs start, the only goal is for you to be at 100% capacity then. We don't want you rusty then, and we don't want you hurt then. We are going to balance it so that we're ramping you up in the spring. And you're good to go. Whatever happens in the regular season, we don't care. Just, we need you awesome in the playoffs, because the Knicks are good enough to where they should be playing the long game there.
Absolutely.
And Mitchell Robinson is good enough, and as you said, important enough, and I totally agree with you that they can't win the East without him.
No.
They cannot win the East without him. And I shouldn't say they can't win the East without him. Maybe they can because it's the East, but they can't win it as easily. And I wouldn't pick them to win the East without him. He's so incredibly important. And as for Huck Porty, I actually like Huck Porty.
Me too.
I'm very encouraged by Huck Porty. He is, I talked about this on my podcast actually earlier this week, where he has this rare combination for a young big where he is a really good leaper and he's really athletic and active, but he's also really good at boxing out. And that's really rare for a young big. Normally, young bigs who are athletic and that kind of stuff just try to jump over everybody. And there are other young bigs who are just ginormous and not that athletic, like a Zach Edey, who will box out everybody. Mm-hmm. But you don't normally get both. And Huck Porty is really good at that. He's a good finisher around the rim. He plays incredibly hard.
Yeah.
I like his effort. I think he got smarter as the year went on last year. I think that he's got an injury history too. which is a little worrisome, but I I like where he's heading. I think the signs on him are good for him to be like a good energy
Yes.
15-minute game center. But while I think he is the same archetype as Mitchell Robinson, Mitchell Robinson has developed into becoming one of the best in the league at that archetype. He is a rare defensive talent and a rare rebounding talent. Him and Steven Adams are the two best rebounders in the NBA.
Yep.
Those are the two best rebounders in the NBA. So you could be a really good rebounder. Mitchell Robinson changes the game as a rebounder. Mitchell Robinson is one of like 3 or 4 players in the NBA who I would say is a playmaker as a rebounder. Like most guys are just rebounders as rebounders. Either you get rebounds or you box out guys so your teammates can get rebounds. Mitchell Robinson is like preventing teams from being able to get out in transition because they have to send 3 or 4 guys at him.
That's right.
Mitchell Robinson is opening up wide open rebounds for teammates because 4 guys, 3 guys are boxing him out, and somebody else is just running in and getting a rebound because that guy's not boxed out. He's tapping the ball up 18 times in a row, which is allowing his other teammates to be able to get back a little bit and for the other team to not get out running. Even if he doesn't get the ball, he is a playmaker as a rebounder. Huck Porty's not a playmaker as a rebounder. Maybe one day. He's not a playmaker as a rebounder. It's not a knock on Huck Porty. There is almost no one else in the league I would describe as a playmaker as a rebounder. I mean, it's Mitchell Robinson and it's probably Steven Adams, and those are the guys. And there are very few guys who, in like morning shoot-arounds, people like coaches are going to talk about them as rebounders. Oh, here's how we attack this guy on the glass. Coaches do that with Mitchell Robinson.
You got a game plan for that.
They game plan morning of for Mitchell Robinson. Like he's one of the guys on the scouting report that you are going through. And that's a good indicator of how important he is and how valuable he is. Huck Porty fills those same roles as Mitch, but the way that Mitch does it,
it's different. It's just different, man.
It is a whole different level. I mean, he is the things that he is good at. My dad doesn't really follow basketball. Very casual. He started getting into the Knicks the last couple of years because they've obviously gotten really good. And, I covered the team. And so he started to get into it. But he never really saw the good version of Mitchell Robinson because he was always hurt or he was back and he wasn't 100% or whatever. So my dad didn't get it. He was like, why is everyone so excited for Mitchell Robinson? I think this guy doesn't do anything. Like he's just not, doesn't do anything for me. He's not good at all. My dad couldn't see it. So at the beginning of the playoffs, I told him, I was like, you want to see how good Mitchell Robinson is? When a opposing team's shot is in the air, just don't watch the ball. Just watch Mitchell Robinson and watch all the people around him who are like swarming him trying to get the basketball, and just watch that. And then it gets to the playoffs and Mitch starts to absolutely go off. And my dad calls me one day and says, I watched Mitchell Robinson for a whole game. I took your advice. I was like, what'd you think? He said, I get it now. He said, I get it. I totally get it. And he said, I get what it is now. It's that the things that he's not good at, he's the worst I've ever seen. But the things that he is good at, he's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah. That
I was
is
like,
the
yes,
essence of Mitch, man.
that is exactly it. That is exactly it. But the things that he's not good at, he just doesn't do. And so he's really freaking good when he just does the things that he is the best my dad has ever seen at. And that's the value in Mitch. He's really become a wonderful player.
Yeah.
It's just the health. It's the health.
It's just the health, man. And speaking of health, shout out to everybody in the chat. Matthew Klein sent the $10 super chat. He says, no chip without Mitch. With this team as constituted, we need another backup center for insurance. He also says, I agree, Huck Porty had serious injuries before we got him also. Stephen Fox in the chat, Mitch is an elite offensive rebounder. And he did, one thing I did want to say with Huck is he's got a nice little floater. to him. You know, he's got like that little iHeart floater. Sometimes, like in summer league, sometimes he would get jammed up. He'd get called for traveling. He'd be a little bit indecisive when he's out there in the short roll and with nothing but space. But when he does drop, you know, when he does shoot it, it does go down. So I like how he's rounding out.
He's an iHeart mentee.
That's right.
Both German centers. He loves Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yeah.
They've been close since Huck was like really young.
Yeah. And shout out to iHeart, man. Very happy that he won the chip. All right, last segment, because I'm watching the time here. I know we both are pressed for time. Last segment, the associate head coach situation with Mike Brown. Borrego was a top candidate. Pelicans did not allow it. Darvin Ham, we've heard Jay Triano, we've heard all these guys. Is it a concern for you that they have not identified someone for that spot? I'll start there.
I wouldn't call it a concern. I would call it a thing I'm paying attention to.
Me too.
I wouldn't call it a concern because ultimately all that matters is you make a good hire. And it doesn't really matter that they don't have one now. You know, it's not, I don't feel, if they didn't have a head coach yet, that I would call a concern because it would matter they didn't have a head coach now. But they've got a head coach and they've got somebody who's implementing their stuff and they have a full staff, you know. Rick Brunson was in that role last year. Mo Cheeks is still there. All the guys who were in that role last year, like it's not like they fired Tibbs and other assistants. It was just Tibbs. And so all the other people who were in that role last year, they're used to running these roles in the meantime, and they'll be fine. I do think Mike Brown is at his best, and just from talking to people who have worked with Mike Brown and played for Mike Brown and been around Mike Brown and all that, I do think he is at his best when he is able to have people around him who he trusts, who are really good, especially on the offensive side with kind of the X's and O's type stuff. You look at how it went down in Sacramento.
Jordy Fernandez.
Yeah, and Jay Triano. And Steph Bondi reported that you know, they reached out about Jay Triano, who just went to Dallas, and that they were denied permission with Triano. It makes sense. He worked great with Jay Triano, and I think it's a wonderful trait for a coach to say, okay, well, this guy came up with something that's gives us the best option. I'm going to implement that. That's a great trait for a person in any management position to be able to have. And I think Mike Brown, you know, you talk to people who have worked with him, for him, around him, and everybody says that's one of his real strengths. I was told when they brought him in by basically everybody, like, okay, the thing is, look at the assistants, look at what they're going to do. And they brought in Ricky Foy, who is somebody who very analytics forward, has a long track record as a player development guy, really close with Mikal Bridges, actually, from his days in Phoenix. And I think is a really well-respected assistant. And I thought that was, worked with Mike Brown in Sacramento. That was not a surprising hire per se, but they're bringing him in onto the staff. And I think they're just kind of looking around and trying to find somebody who will fit that role. The reason they had so much interest in Borrego is because Borrego is like, beyond him being a CAA guy, which is the obvious connection to make, like Borrego is the ultimate, like, oh, I'm drawing up all this crazy offensive stuff for you. And he's very, you know, analytics forward. He's very X's and O's forward. He's super inventive, and he's got this reputation of piecing together these fabulous offenses schematically. And it would be ideal to have somebody like that drawing stuff up next to Brown. On top of that, you know, those guys are both Spurs guys, and, you know, they have a relationship already. So it just kind of works perfectly. I don't know who that next guy is going to be. I think we just kind of have to wait and see where they end up going with it. Right now, they're kind of scanning the league and looking for people. I will say, they keep trying on these guys who are already lead assistants elsewhere.
Yeah.
I admire their pluck, but I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah.
I you know, it's like you don't let people. NBA teams do not let people out of their contracts for equivalent jobs. It doesn't happen. It didn't happen with Borrego. Didn't happen with Darvin Ham. It didn't happen with Jay Triano. I don't anticipate it happening with anybody else. So if unless it's somebody that like maybe they're trying to like foist onto the Knicks, in which case it may not be the best hire. So I would I would say we just kind of have to wait and see who it is, and then we kind of have to wait and see how it goes. Like
Yeah, yeah.
whoever they hire, and I think they'll hire somebody else. Whoever it is, I'm not really going to have a strong reaction to it either way. I think it's really hard to know which assistants are good and which assistants aren't good. It's hard to know that from the inside sometimes, let alone from the outside. And just like people say, okay, you should take a risk. There are a lot of people who believe take a risk on a young, unproven assistant as a head coach. Go bring in somebody who's smart and find your own Mark Daigneault, you know? Find your own Jordy Fernandez. Find your own Eric Spoelstra. That's what he was. You know, came up as a
Video guy. Yep.
Find your own guy like that. People believe you should do that, and they say that knowing that, yeah, there's a risk. It might not work because we don't have the evidence. Well, it's even more of a crapshoot in doing that with assistant coaches, but you're also even more likely to do that with assistant coaches because it's less consequential if it doesn't quite work. So they could hire somebody, for all we know, that isn't necessarily a number one or a number two on a bench elsewhere, but they believe to be this brilliant mind who they think could help. And then you got to just see how that person does in the role. So I'm probably not going to have that strong of a reaction no matter who it is. It's really hard to tell on the outside. But I do think it is interesting that they are going to have almost the exact same assistant coaching staff next year.
That's my next question, because you have some of the fan base are like, well, what's going on here? Is this his team? Is it a collaboration thing? As Leon has stated, that it's important to them. Is this part of the collaboration where they're going to do some things their way, he's going to do some things his way in terms of bringing a Jay Foy from Sacramento? What do you make of that? That 90% of the staff is rolling over here to the Mike Brown bench.
I think part of it is just contract stuff. Those guys are under contract and they're holding on to them. Mike Brown said even in his intro press conference, like he said he is going to work with Leon in order to find, the rest of their bench. They also have a lot of well-respected assistants. Like that's the other part of it. It's, Rick Brunson's obviously going to stay there. And here's what I'll say about Rick Brunson. He may be Jalen's coach, but he's done a heck of a job with Jalen. I don't think anyone has looked at Jalen Brunson and thought, man, I wish that guy would have gotten more out of his talent.
Yeah.
Wish that guy worked a little harder. I don't think anybody has ever said that about Jalen. So I don't think it's that big. Like, he's clearly done a very good job with Jalen. He still warms him up every time, still works him out every time.
Right.
Like, if that's what your star player, Jalen Brunson's not doing it to get his guy a job. He likes him there because he believes that he's the coach who makes him the best he can be. And if that's what your star player believes, and all the evidence says that your star player is correct, then what's the issue?
Yeah.
And with the rest of the staff, it's like Darren Erman is an assistant, is a veteran assistant who's been in a lot of situations, and Mo Cheeks has been a head coach and is a Hall of Fame player and is this very veteran assistant who has been on a lot of different types of staffs and has been around forever. Mark Bryant is a very well respected big man coach. Like I talked about Huck Porty being a great box out guy as a rookie. Like a good amount of that probably has to go to Mark Bryant. Who is a really, really good like fundamentals for big man coach. Every big who he works with has these tremendous low paint fundamentals, great footwork, great box out stuff, great physicality. He has worked with so many dudes. DeAndre Ayton was at his absolute best when he had Mark Bryant there on the bench. Like he a lot of these guys, like he is really, really good with those guys and really well respected. And so you look through the assistant coaching staff and it's like, if they're in their roles and they're delegated to well, and I think it's probably fine. And then we kind of see what ends up happening with Brown moving forward. But it is interesting and it is unusual that they are holding over so many assistants. That doesn't normally happen when you have a coaching change. Like normally if there's a lot of holdover, it's at the back end of the bench. It's not like the guy who was the lead assistant the previous season and Rick Brunson gets demoted from lead assistant and is still there. And then basically everybody else stays too.
Yeah.
As of now, all the assistants are still there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, to say that maybe it's the front office saying, hey, Tibbs wasn't really working with these guys the way we expected. And these guys are good coaches. So, as you said, contractually, they're there. We can't have sunken costs all over the place. Let's get the most out of these guys, have Mike Brown come in and actually work together.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, also, look, Tibbs demands, this will surprise no one, Tibbs demands ridiculous work habits from his assistants. You have to work so much in order to be a Tibbs assistant. So these are all very hardworking coaches, it's very plausible that Mike Brown showed up and spoke to them. Was like, oh, so when do you get in? And they're like, oh, I'm here 22 hours a day. And he's like, what? Okay, you can stay 22 hours? You can stay, but maybe be here for 18 or something, it's it's plausible that going from Tibbs to Mike Brown, you're like, oh, okay. It's a different, it's just a different, the whole point is that it's different culturally. But yeah, everybody is there. Literally, Nick Thibodeau is still a video coordinator for them. Everybody all the way, everybody is still there. They only got rid of one of the two Tibbses.
Wow.
So everybody's still on staff. Everybody's still there as of now. I guess that could change, but it was the only change they made was head coach, and it is unusual. And I don't know if it's good or bad, because if Mike Brown had a problem with it, then I would say it was bad, because you're starting off with no synergy right away. And I do think that was a big reason why Taylor Jenkins ends up kind of falling out of the fray, because Jenkins wanted to have more say in his assistants, and that wasn't going to be.
Sound like he got cold feet there.
Yeah, that wasn't going to be a plausibility. I just think there was a difference in philosophies there. If Mike Brown had a problem with it, I would say that was a problem, but I have no indication whatsoever that Mike Brown has a problem with it. So it's just an interesting approach, and I guess it could work and it could not work, and we just kind of have to see.
True indeed, man. Well, great session, Fred. Great season as we, officially wrap up, man. Heading to the off season for a little bit, and then heading to training camp, man. Well, what's the rest of the summer looking like for you, man?
Oh, who knows? Who knows? It depends on how long. Depends on how long these restricted free agents take to sign.
Right.
Once they sign, I'm leaving, and no one's hearing from me for a month.
Yeah, there you go, man. We'll definitely enjoy it. Appreciate all the coverage all year, man. And let's catch up training camp time, man.
100%.
All right, man. That was Fred Katz in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Once again, so to our guy, Matthew, in the building, man. We definitely appreciate Fred. Remember that these shows are available in audio podcast format. No reason to miss it. If you missed it live, shout out to the replay gang. Salute to all of our channel members. And what do you guys think, man? Stephen Fox, we appreciate you, man. Let's see. Super chat. Jason Benjamin says, can we trust Mr. Robinson to play 82 minutes? 82 minutes or 82 games? 82 games. There's only 48 minutes in a game, my man. Huck can play. Yeah, well, the expectation is not for Mitch to play all 82 games. You give him a night off on a back-to-back, so you let Huck Porty get in and get some burn. But the idea that, because he's not injured, he's not durable, they can't invest in him, they have no better options at this point. So unless you guys can come up with better options, then we're just speaking absolute nonsense as it relates to Mitchell Robinson. They need him to be successful, point blank, period. That's just the bottom line. Once again, hey, shout out to our sponsors, man. KnicksFanTV.com. Go to KnicksFanTV.com today to get your merch. Shout out to the trophy. I came back home, shined the trophy up, threw some Armor All on there. Make sure it was still there. You know, these Knicks Twitter guys, they're talking a little Aggie, man. So the road to redemption, the road to repeat starts now. Some of you guys might be on Twitter right now seeing the videos. JD's out there. JD's out there balling, man. He's looking to bring it home, bring the championship back home. A lot of spicy talk. They're adding new teams, new rules, they're stacking the deck up against us. That's pretty much what's going on with all the new additions to the league. But we'll be ready. We will be ready. All right, shout out to the team. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do some Worst Take. We'll catch up on Worst Take and see what's going on around the NBA podcast here as it relates to the New York Knicks. See you guys tomorrow, man. Have a great night. I'm out of here. Peace. Good to be back, man. Peace.